Joining us on PM Express, and I want to do something different tonight on the show. So 66 years of independence, I'm asking the question, why is Ghana still poor? Is the question we're asking on the show tonight. I mean, so this is just a statement, but the key thing we're going to look at, why we are still poor. And I am asking that question, and I'm taking it from a very personal point of view. I am 40 years, so I didn't see the immediate independence, post-independence era. I've just lived for 40 years in this country. And even in my young 40 year as a human being in Ghana, I haven't seen much of a change from what it used to be till now. There has been a change, right? There has been some improvement. But I bet, my experience tells me, that the progress that we've made in the last 40 years is pretty small. It's a snail pace compared to what we should be. Because if I consider that a country called Singapore under one president called Lee Kuan Yew could transform the entire country from first to third world in 30 years, tells me it is possible to actually fix this problem in my lifetime, to move us from first to third, from third to first world in that period. So why haven't we done that? And so I want to have this conversation. I know many of you have had this conversation on 6 March and question why are we celebrating independence, but I want to just flip it on its head a bit and ask the young person who possibly is my age and losing hope, and I am, because I've unfortunately done this job for 18 years, and the stories I've been engaging seem to be just repetitive, and it's a cycle, it's a vicious cycle of the old mistakes that we've done in the past repeating itself. And whilst I go through the slides, probably by the time I finish, you understand why I feel the way I feel. There are many young people like myself who also feel the way I feel right now. And I want to start with Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, because I think the thing to appreciate is the ambition of this man, our founding fathers. They had a certain vision of us. And we need to ask ourselves by the time we finish this conversation whether we have realized these goals and the ambitions and the picture they had of this country when they imagined Ghana 66 years on. He made this bold declaration that Africa is ready to fight its own battles and show that they are, after all, the black man. And for me, that's a key point here. That point about the black man is capable of managing his own affairs. It's such a powerful statement at the time that he made it. Just around the independence time. The black man is capable of managing his own affairs. I always ask that question. Each time we celebrate independence, each time I celebrate my birthday, I ask the question, so if I look at this country, 66 years on, have we proved Dr. Kwame Nkrumah right, or have we proved him wrong? When he said then that we are capable of managing our own affairs, now the jury should be out now, because 66 years on. Have we proved them right, that yes, we are capable, or have we proved them wrong, that no, we are not? We're going to ask that question. If you ask me, I think you probably would guess where I believe this is going. And thankfully, I'm bringing people who are not only far older than me, they've lived through the various stages of this country's development, and they've experienced it, but also they've studied it and they live it on a daily basis. So maybe I want them to convince the young people like myself why we should so have hope in this country and what it would take to transform this country to what Nkrumah saw when he did make this bold statement. And then he made the point that he wanted to create that, an African personality and identity, and that it is the only way we can show the world that we are ready for our own battles. Really? When we've gone to the IMF 17 times, well, that's another story we'll come to very shortly. And again, I'm going through this because this is, to understand this topic properly, you need to understand what the vision was and what the goals were at the beginning. And then we track back to 66 years as of last week and see have we achieved that. So one of them is we should be able to manage our own affairs. So if we were setting the goals as of 6th March 1957, one of the goals were in 66 years from now, Nkrumah was saying, by the time we get to 66 years, we should be able to manage our own affairs. So we're going to be measuring that. Have we done that? And then another one, he wants to build an economy balance between industry and agriculture. Ask yourself, 66 years on, have we done this? Industry and agriculture. Providing sufficiency of food for the people. Have we done this? 66 years on. Supporting secondary industries based on products of our agriculture. I mean, this is like planting for food and jobs. We still want to, one district, one factory. Nkrumah was saying this, set this as a goal at independence, right? Just post-independence era. And we're still talking about that 66 years on. We should be talking about something else, I believe, as a young man. We should have finished this and talked about this and done it, right? Focus on the development of the state and cooperative sectors. Regulate the pattern of state investment in order to give the highest priority to productive investment. And the story here is actually interesting because many economists have told us, especially in the last few months when we've been struggling with the economy, unprecedented economic crisis, is that we've invested not prioritizing in productive sectors, but prioritizing in consumption, buying V8s and spending money on our stomachs instead of putting it in productive areas. That's Nkrumah's visions. Determine and direct the forms and conditions of foreign investment. As for that is foreign affairs. I think even that we've completely abandoned it by now. It's a key thing that Nkrumah was hoping to do. Now, so this is one of the things I really wanted to draw your attention. 66 years of independence, the financial dependence is one of the key things when you're looking at. Ghana has been to the IMF 17 times, and we are waiting to actually get another one. In other words, when the IMF is in charge of this economy, we do well. When the white man is in charge of this economy, we do well. Immediately they handed it back to us, we run it down. That is the story of the 17 times. So each time we run it down, we go back to them, they take over, they fix the problems, we go back to them. We've done that 17 times. Is Nkrumah right when he says that we should be able to manage our own affairs? The black man is capable. Are we capable? That's a jury. I believe the jury is out there. So if we look at the facilities that we've gone to, these are the dates that we've gone 8 times. We went for the standby arrangement. These are the years, 1966, so Nkrumah himself was the beneficiary of that. 67, 68. So all that time was Nkrumah's era. But of course, I mean, he was trying to build a foundation there. His vision was that he will do this at the time, and then eventually we will come out of this and we will manage our own affairs by ourselves, right? But unfortunately for him, after he was overthrown, we kept on going back and going back and going back and going back. And we never stopped. In fact, we moved from the standby arrangement, we went to structural adjustment facility, 1987, extended fund facility, 1987. We went to extended credit facility. This is our favorite now. We progressed. Our dependence has progressed. It didn't stop. It actually became worse and worse and worse because this is a minimal intervention. I mean, for those who lived through the structural adjustment period, they tell you it was terrible. But then we've seen this now, right? And now we've gone there 6 times because we love it. Right? That tells its own story. Our dependence. If you look at also the public debt in billions, and the story is told that when the whites, the British, left these shores and gave us independence, that we had the budget surplus. We had a surplus. We didn't owe anybody. And then within a decade or so, we were owing significant amounts of money. And since then, our appetite for borrowing and debt has grown. No wonder we are at this unprecedented stage in our history, where we are at 575.7 billion. It doesn't sound like a country capable of managing its own affairs with all the resources that we have. So we need to ask that fundamental question. Why are we still begging, borrowing after 66 years? I mean, for a young man like myself, I'm saying to the older generation I'm going to be talking to tonight that I am losing hope. They need to tell me in the next 1 hour why I shouldn't lose hope completely and just look to just escape these shores to a better place where they don't have 575 billion debt hanging on its head, that they are now reaching to individuals' pockets to try and fix this particular problem. And many people have said that this IMF program that we're in, which is the steepest, the worst we've seen, possibly won't be the last. But it's a story for all of you to observe. And then you look at the annual inflation, which also it's telling the story. We are comparing this to this is 75, So this is 1967, right, all the way to 1965. So if we look at this is the average, by the way. So and I know it's about 50, but we're doing the average because we have to compare over the years. 39.5%, or 51% is what we see as the average. If you compare it all the way to say the highest we've been, look at the time. Look at us here in 1967. Isn't that a tragedy? We're doing so well then. We climbed and climbed to our peak in terms of inflation just around the 1983. Of course, I mean, I remember my parents telling me that 83 was terrible, right? Essential commodities were not available for people to buy. No wonder we were here. We are not there yet, but we are still not out of the woods yet, right? So this is really terrible picture. We're talking about economic dependence. Look at the Ghana minimum wage and international poverty. How many people have this country managed to lift out of poverty? And it's a very important point. The minimum wage, look at how it's been behaving. Look at the significant dip in 2021 that we've seen. If we look at the international poverty line, which is one of the key things that most development agents, and I thankfully have the National Development Planning Commission here with me, they tell you a story, a very, very terrible story. So we are not lifting our people out of poverty the way we should. But Lee Kuan Yew did that. He improved the per capita from just around $400 to almost $2,000 plus within the time that he was there. I mean, significantly, by 1990, they were in significant thousands of dollars. So it's possible. It is possible. Why haven't we done it? Is a key problem that we need to interrogate. And so tonight, I am going to sit down and listen to a conversation. If you're a young man like myself and have wondered why this has been the case, this is our story. It's not a good story. Let's ask those who have gone before us, who've lifted, and why has it been so? Why do we remain poor? But most importantly, how do we come out of this? And I'm very sure, tonight I'm going to be very skeptical. I'm very sure a lot of the things they will say, I've heard it before. I'm not sure they'll say anything new, but I still want to hear them. I'm not sure they'll say anything new, but I'm sure I'll hear them. So if I'm already anticipating I'm not going to hear anything new, the question is, why is that? Why is that nobody can, I'm hoping that they will say something really groundbreaking. But then even after that, why is it that we haven't fixed it? Is it leadership? Is it our citizens who just aren't holding people accountable enough? Stay with me after this break. My guests will begin to have a very honest conversation about this country called Ghana. As we celebrate Ghana Month, everybody is wearing kaftans and kaba and kente, and then after 1 month, we'll go back to our miserable old lives and then wait for the next year, and then we'll begin to wear kente again, and then we still remain poor. Don't take my word for it. The evidence is here. We are not getting people out of poverty. It's getting worse over the period. Stay with me.